It's 22 minutes after 7. You're welcome to my banner. What's on my heart today is this issue about the National Union of Ghana students accusing the district chief executive of Navrongo of meddling in its elections to choose representatives for the All Africa Student Union. Recently, I'm sure you remember, there was a sponsorship letter that surfaced somewhere on the internet about an SRC aspirant of the University of Cape Coast getting sponsorship from a political party. And I well remember also the BNI intrusion in the Legon SRC elections sometime last year. So on my banner this morning, we're looking at political infiltration in student politics. I've got young men who have been there, who have seen it all, so they will tell us honestly how it plays out in school. My guests, Eric Edem Agbana, who is a friend of the show, by the way. He's a student activist and a former SRC president at the University of Ghana, Legon. And Austin Bracco Powers is also a former NUCS president and information secretary. So, gentlemen, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I think it would be silly to think that the national politics or the party politics is not in student politics. So how much of it exists? Eric.
Well, good morning to you and good morning to all our cherished viewers. The infiltration of partisan politics in student activism or in student politics, I must say, is not a new trend. If you go deep into the history of the National Union of Ghana Student, which was formed or formalized about 50 years ago, you realize that right after independence, right from 1966, after the overthrow of the first president, there have been attempts by successive governments to infiltrate the ranks of student leaders. And this is because, one, the student politics has become a platform for grooming national leaders. Almost all the politicians that you see today pass through the student leadership front. Talk about the Totobi Kwachis, talk about Ata Kennedy, Dan Boche, Okujeto Ablakwa, Haruna Idrisu, many of them. So certainly any serious political party or any serious government would want to have an interest in what goes on at the student level. Beyond that, we have seen how student activism have led to overthrow of government. I remember or I read about NUCS leading efforts to get the Achampon regime out. Again, even in 2000, in the year 2000, if you read the account of political scientists, they will tell you that one of the major reasons why the NDC government lost power in 2000 was because they lost favor with students and because NUCS and other student unions were up in arms against the government. So if you're a government that is interested in maintaining power, certainly you should have a certain level of interest or influence on the student leadership. My problem is the extent to which it is playing out now, where we can basically talk about student leaders not even able to take any decision without recourse to partisan politics. That is my worry. But the trend of governments interfering or political parties interfering in the affairs of students is not a new trend. It has been there since.
So, Austin, we will try and answer the question that he put across. But does the student really need a politician?
I think it is a two-way affair. Like the way they say two-way communication. The students need the politicians also need the students. Why do I say that? We complement each other. Because in the development of this country, there's no way you can relegate the contribution of students to the development of Ghana. And so,
but is that what the politicians use you for?
I think
truthfully,
what the politician looks at something different. A typical politician would want more from you. Perhaps he or she may not disclose what he or she wants from you. She will tell you, I want you to win. But behind that, he or she wants to infiltrate you, use you to achieve
to get votes. I think ultimately.
So, like he said, I don't think this is nothing new. If you can grapple with the history of National Union of Ghana since its formation in 1965, you realize that every step on the way, there's a hand of the politician. And if you ask me whether it's something out of the ordinary, I'll tell you it is normal. And we only have to curtail the extent, like you said, but we cannot.
But are we going overboard now today? Are we going overboard with?
Yes, there are traces, and I can tell you because even during our tenure in office,
which would be what year?
That was 2011,
Okay.
2012. So I handed over in 2012, and I can tell you every step on the way. There were, issues I've had to face with my executives because some of them are affiliated to a different political party, and they want us to toe the way of that political party. And some of us who also feel that why not we do the way of students? Because we have a lot of the student population constitute what we call a social constituency, and the social constituency, if you relegate them, that means that you are losing your core. It is all. It was increasingly becoming. It became annoying to see some of our executives receiving calls from politicians telling them what Austin Powers is doing is not good. Because I was in charge of the communication wing of the union, and I was fully everywhere. And I'm sure.
Are you guys active at a certain point? I don't know what you see. Are you guys active at a certain point because you realize that at some occasions you find a particular NUCS secretary or NUCS president issuing a lot of statements on a lot of things, and then at another point you see that they are not. You don't even hear them.
Yes. Let me answer the first question of whether we have gone overboard.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I think that yes, we have gone overboard because formally, the politicians normally do come in after the election of the executives, where they will try and use whether cooperation or coercion to get the student leaders on their side. There have been times that the NUCS president was killed because because government had sent police officers to prevent students from demonstrations and all of that. Yeah. So there was a time that even Atakene had to run away from the country as NUCS president because he was afraid of his life. But we have gone overboard now because now there is an SRC election, and clearly the agenda is this candidate is an NDC candidate, this candidate is an MPP candidate, this candidate is a PPP candidate. For me, that is where my worry is. But now, the issue about getting active at a point, it's simply because sometimes if the government is fortunate to have a pro-government student leader, you expect that government can do all sorts of atrocities at a student front. There can be rise in fees, but because the student leader feels that it is my government in power, they want to be a bit soft on the government. They want to employ all sorts of negotiations and dialogue. But the moment the student leader is not sharing the same ideology with the government, every unnecessary thing, they release a press statement against the government. I saw the condemnation of the DCE by the student leader. And if you see even the person who signed it, I'm in the front, I'm a student leader myself. So the person who signed it, I know if that person had found himself on the other side, he wouldn't have condemned. And there are clearly there are two accounts. There are some people that are even blaming the opposition MPP for the chaos at the Congress. Others are also blaming government. So now my worry is that depending on where you stand, you have a certain view, and clearly the student interest, the perspective, the interest of the students that we are seeking to represent has been relegated to the background. And that is where my worry is. And again, look, when you go to other countries, quite recently I was reading about the EFF in South Africa coming out with a press statement saying that they have been able to win almost all the student elections in their country, meaning that they had an interest, they sponsored candidates on every tertiary campus, and they were happy that Maleme's party was able to win most of the campuses. So it is not something that is exclusive to Ghana. But you see, if you look at what the student leaders in South Africa did recently, when their fees,
with the school fees,
yes, the fees
and
must
the
fall,
impact that
they made. Ours, you cannot do that again, because if the NUCS president is pro-government and is even taking an action against the government, he will not get the support of the other side. So right from day one, there is this division, sharp division. And even before the next election, we are thinking about who are we going to groom to represent our caucus or our side. I think that
we will come to the consequences of that.
Yes.
We'll come to the consequences of that. But what do students need from the politician? Is it sponsoring their elections, Austin?
I think generally, I would say maybe capital infiltration. They need, the student leaders, or let me say aspiring student politicians need money from the politician. They need the money because, the thinking is that, why not, they are in charge of the state, they have money, they are keeping it, then they have a lot of it. So, inadvertently, they will even come to you to tell you that, okay, we want to sponsor you, we know you are likely to win, you are likely to become the SRC president of University of Ghana, or you are likely to become the NUCS president. So, the fact is that definitely the student needs the money from the politician, and the politician also needs the support of the student leadership. Because if the student leader is not supporting you, definitely it goes against you. If you don't get the support of the social conscience, it will go against you. So I think that generally the students are interested in the money, and the politician is also interested in the support base. Because, like if like I always say, if you are a student of history, you realize that even in 2010, 2011 academic year, you realize the schism that went on, the issues that NUCS had to grapple with were as a result of the hand of the politician, because they sponsored a lot of the candidates, and they realized that the NUCS president then was Abuchi, if he was not towing the way of the government. So what has to happen? They cooked the story, and
this is a huge allegation.
No, it's not an allegation. I was in the front. I've played strong role in NUCS for almost more than 15 years.
So you can prove this?
I can prove it. You understand? Apochi was removed because he was not in favor of government. And you see, his actions also indicated, predominantly, clearly, his actions clearly tell you that this guy is pro-opposition and anti-government. So definitely the government realized that the best option is to kick him out, because no government wants to lose the support of students. And I tell you, it's so relevant to them. President Mahama right now is interested in who becomes SRC president in University of Ghana, because he knows that when there is student dissent, the Flagstaff House is not far away from University of Ghana. They can march there and dramatize the agitation, and Ghanaians will sympathize with them. You understand? So I can tell you.
Let's talk about the consequences of this. We're going on a certain route, which is obviously not good, particularly for the students. Let's look at the consequences, Adam.
Well, I think that the biggest consequence or the implications of this infiltration, the deep neck infiltration of partisan politics, for me is the fact that we are denying the good students of Ghana the opportunity to have good leadership. And that is because your thinking, your actions, everything is to a large extent being controlled by a certain political influence out there. When I was SRC president in Legon, that was 2013, there was a situation where you remember the pulling down of the toll booth by
the University Authority.
By the National Security Coordinator. And at the time, I was leading the students to say, we don't want the toll booth, we don't want the tolls. But when he destroyed it, I came out with a statement condemning him for not using the appropriate structures. Yes, we wanted it out, but we think that we should respect the sovereignty of the institution. That morning, on one radio station, an MP said, look, the gentleman who spoke that he's SRC president, he's with the opposition political party. He actually tagged me as NPP. As pro-MPP.
Because you opposed a certain action.
Because I opposed a certain action by a government institution. When I came out of school and I didn't toe the line of MPP, then, some people thought, okay, so when you were there, you did it. I think that we are denying students the opportunity to have good leadership. Secondly, we are also not giving enough hope for the future, because it's like whatever negativities that we are seeing on the national scene is being replicated down here. I think that we as young people should be able to use our conscience rightly and let people understand that, yes, if there is corruption in national politics, we represent the future, we represent the hope of the future. If you look at Get Fund today, Get Fund is playing a key role in our economy. Get Fund is playing a key role in improving the educational structures and all of that. And Get Fund is something that came out of NUK's agitation. When Dr. Omani Boamah was NUK's president, Get Fund is a policy that NUK's led. And there are many other policies that came as a result of student agitation. For example, issue about declaration of assets of public officers. I remember under Champon, I read that it is the National of Ghana students that forced government officials to declare their assets. But because now student leaders to a large extent are in the pockets or in the hands of political parties and political party leaders, we are denying the good students of Ghana an opportunity to enjoy that good leadership that they deserve. So decisions are taken not because of what the students stand to benefit, but because of what my political party or my caucus or all these things. I think that the consequences are bad, and it's time that student leaders begin to think again, and let's place the interests of students at heart. For me, when I was student leader, yes, it is normal. It's normal to have affiliation. Even the media is not left out. We all know that the media, even as the fourth estate, or you have some media houses that are pro-government, others that are pro-opposition, and all of that. But to a very large extent, the objectivity must be there. We are not expecting them to be neutral. We are not expecting student leaders to be neutral. So largely, I have this philosophy that sometimes, yes, I support candidates based on various factors and reasons. But when you get the position, when you get when you get the political power, I expect you to use it to the interest of students.
Sure.
Recently, the National of Ghana student released a statement on the delay in the fund, in the grants, feeding grants of teacher trainees. I remember putting pressure on the NUK's president. Then he was surprised because I am some way, somehow close to the Ministry of Education. But I told him, look, your students are crying. Students send messages asking that when are you going to release the grant? If you call him, he will confirm. He will tell you that, yes, I was putting pressure on him that, gentleman, I supported you when you were going for NUK's president. Yes, it may be our government that is in power, but make sure that you fight for the right of students. I think this is not so hard to demand. It is simple. Do it when you are out of office. You can serve. Harun Iddrisu was one of the strongest critics of the Jerry Rawlings government. But he's in the NDC and he's doing well as a minister of state. So you don't necessarily have to use your student office to work for the political party before you gain favor from them. When you finish serving, you can join them.
Austin largely agrees with you on the challenges. So
I think the problem will have to be with, or let me say, when there are consequences, to have to share between the public and the general students. Why am I saying that? Because you see, we shouldn't see it in the light of students rather suffering, but rather in the light of Ghanaians, the ordinary Ghanaian, the one who is voiceless, who cannot speak. And like I always say, when I meet college students, I always tell them that, you see, when you were climbing up from junior high school to secondary school, you left some people behind, some of your colleagues who were not so privileged to have been endowed with the mental faculty that you have, the intelligence you have, to climb to the other level. Now, they'll be depending on you to fight for them. So when you go to when you become a top-notch or a strong a leader, and you fail to speak for them, it means that tomorrow they will not have a voice. And the voice they left with you.
So finally on this, can it end? How?
No, I don't see it ending anytime soon, probably. And I can tell you on so many counts we have attempted to meet some of the politicians, let me say the two main opposition parties, because they play so strong role. The two main opposition, MPP, NDC. And perhaps you can think of CPP. Then, that was when Indun was there. But now, CPP is no longer in the picture. It is NDC, MPP. And right now, it is the political pot is boiling.
They've taken over.
No, the political pot is boiling. Now we'll be heading for another news congress. I'm sure another news congress before next academic year. So you should know.
Yeah?
I believe it can end. Yes, I think that it can end. It can end when the students themselves do some self-introspection and also begin to put in place some mechanisms to curtail the involvement. One thing I think that the students must learn to do is to reduce the cost of political campaigns among students. I was running for SRC president, came from a very humble home, and I needed support of other people, not necessarily only politicians. Politicians came in, people, I mean, let's be very honest. You cannot run an SRC campaign today at Legon on a budget that is less than 15,000, 20,000.
Over 30,000.
Yes. So when the students put in place structures to reduce the cost of campaign, the temptation for the student leader or for the will-be student leader to approach a politician for funding will reduce. That is one thing.
So you got funding, right?
You got funding, I got funding, not necessarily from a political party, but from individuals. I got an individual in the MPP. He wouldn't want me to mention his name, who funded my campaign. He gave me some support. I got a businessman.
What was his interests?
Yeah, his interest was that he had a son in the school that was part of my campaign team and spoke to him about me being a good candidate and all of that. I got a businessman who was a master's student and saw me address a class and said, look, I'm in love with the way you do your presentation, and he gave me some money. I got some people also from the NDC who came in and gave support. But
what was their interest?
Like we were discussing, their interest is that largely they wanted a student leader who will come and it's either, if you are not even with us, don't be against us. I mean, that's their philosophy. So I think the university authorities also have a role to play in trying to curtail the interest of the infiltration of politicians. Now, the TESCON and the TEN, these political party groups on campus, on our campuses, is also playing a role. They meet and they decide that this is our leader. Sometimes they even go ahead and go and talk to politicians. So you are there and somebody comes to you and say that, okay, our party has decided that you are our candidate and we are giving you this support to run the election. Sometimes not the student leaders that go to them, they come to you. So it's because they have groups on campus that are serving their interests. They do investigations about candidates and they feel, well, you can be on our side or you may be with us and all of that. I think that it can end. It can end if the students themselves decide that enough is enough and it is time for us to stand up for the interests of students again.
All right. We have to end our conversation here. Let me just read this message that's just come through, and thank God that the messages are now dropping in. So Roland and myself will be back to read the messages from when the show started. But this one on this particular conversation says, what is even more sad is tribal politics and student politics. Ghana is moving in the wrong direction. Thanks for the message, and kindly include your name when you send us messages on this. Michael from Bolga says, student politics in Ghana, and nothing to write home about. You say it elsewhere. SA, they speak to reduce school fees, but here, door to door. Yeah, welcome to Ghana anytime. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me. Adam and Austin, for your time here on the show. This has been my banner. Stay with us. I'll come back with Roland, and then we will share the messages that you've been sending right here on our show. Still to come, we've got AM Talk on all the big conversations happening in Ghana today.